So you become the number one rep at the radio station. So you were selling the outside sales, the radio ads, right?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. To all the like companies that should advertise on the radio station?
So it was small businesses like plumbers, fitness companies, it could be auto dealers.
And anyone that should be advertising with
Sure.
you guys, small business and mid-market. Okay, that makes total sense. How did you in 1 year you became the top rep? How did you do that? Like, what was it secret there, and how did you do it?
Again, I learned the basic sales principles when I worked for Gallo. They had a great training program. So I understood, sales is a numbers game. You need to deal with the ultimate decision maker. You need to go face to face to make connections with people. You need to provide phenomenal follow-up and customer service, all the basics. If you want the order, you need to go for the close. Don't take a blow off. One big thing I learned from my boss back then was, oh, I didn't get the contract signed today. And he'd say, why not? Oh, they said they had to speak to their other partners. And he would be livid with me. And I learned qualify on that front end. So on that first call, when you meet with someone and you're getting a good rapport, ask, if I had the best idea in the world for you right now and it financially worked for you, that investment worked, would you be the person that could sign off on that, or would you need to speak to someone else? And so I learned over time from my old boss, who was a phenomenal salesperson, that qualifying things in a very simplistic way early on will save you so much time and BS from people later on, because they can't use that trick on you later, because you can say, wait a minute, we had this discussion and you did say you were the ultimate decision maker. And that's when you pull the contract out and drop the pen and say, it's time for us to sign this thing and get it done.
I learned at that time there's two types of ego. There's good ego, and any good salesperson has ego. You have to have it. But there's good ego and there's bad ego. And good ego gives you the ability to claim greatness. It gives you the ability to say, I'm Brandon, and I'm going to build a $100 million company, and I'm going to compete with Salesforce, and this is that. That is freaking awesome, Brandon. And
Yeah.
you said that to me today when I got on the phone, and I just lit up, and I went, okay, man, good ego. That guy's a leader. People are going to follow him. That's great
appreciate
ego.
that.
Bad ego is...
And that's what, for the audience, so Sherry asked me, like, what is your goal for the next, for the company for the next year? And I'm like, we're on a mission to build $1 billion company that positively impacts 1 billion people. We're nowhere near that, and we're working on trying to figure that out. But yeah, and then, so you're saying that part's like good ego, and then bad ego, go ahead.
That bad ego says, it ain't my fault. It's not my fault. Market, the SDRs gave me terrible leads. It's not the right economy. It's everything. The pronoun is always they, she, he.
You,
and I learned
yeah.
really quickly, you can't take the glory for being great if you won't take the responsibility when you're not.
And I love the sales process and sticking to it. And I get in battles even with my VP of revenue, being a VP of director of revenue. I always want to tinker and optimize. And he's like, execute what works. Like, stop trying to screw with optimizing. Like, we want to optimize and improve, but like, this works, stop trying to fuck with it. How do you, because I'm the guy telling you, like, Scott, we got to keep optimizing. You're like, dude, this is good. How do you not let the always be optimizing overtake your execution? Because you could get stunned by it.
I was born with this fortunate gift for salespeople in that I'm not a perfectionist.
This
perfect. Allows me to be very okay with getting an A- or a B+, right? And again, to throw it back to baseball terms, if I go 1 for 3 for you every single day, Brandon, I'm gonna bat 333 for the year. Okay, you really want to give me shit to get my average up to 340, or you just want to let me do my thing? There's other things we could focus on, right? Maybe let's focus on power. Let's focus on your speed a little bit. So you're not gonna mess with my process. I'm gonna keep my process the same, but how do I keep that process going and move up market a little bit? How do I apply that process cross-functionally in our company so the CS team is also able to produce revenue at the same kind of clip that the sales team is? How do I get that process replicated for my managers that I use with them, how they manage their reps? So as long as everything's working and we're growing and we're hitting our numbers, you know, I wouldn't say I'm totally satisfied ever, but I'm satisfied and confident not to switch up that one part.
You know, I just remember my VP of sales when he hired me. He basically's like, okay, here was his secret to sales success, right? Okay. This is what he said. He said, look, he said, this is the way this business works, because it was such a big ticket sale. You know, he said, this is the way it works. He goes,
8 figures almost.
Start the year. He's like, start the year with, start off the year with 12 prospects, right? So you only got 12 target prospects.
Yep.
Start the year with 12 prospects. You know, qualify them, talk to people, have blah, 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 blah. He said, after the first quarter, drop half of them, right? Like, you got to figure out which 6 am I keeping, which 6 am I dumping. So spend the first quarter of the year, because the sales cycle was like 12 to 18 months. So he said, so pick 12 to start, work them for 3 months. After 3 months, decide which 6 you're going to flush. Now you got 6 left. He goes, now you work those 3 for another 3 months, right? Doing all your stuff, blah, 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 blah. At the end of that 3 months, flush another half. Now you're down to 3. He said, now you got 6 months to close 1 out of the 3. That's the game. That's how you win it, you know, with this thing, because my quota was 1.
High ticket. Yeah.
My quota was 1, you know, so it's kind of one of those deals, like, if you got 1, you were golden. You got 2, you were like,
you crushed it.
You crushed it, right? And you got 0, you know, steak knives.
Yep. You learn a lot being a professional baseball player at Cincinnati Reds, the Twins, the Rockies. So then your career kind of, you know, you're looking to transition out of baseball. Were you like, okay, I'm going to do either, you know, like, did you always know you wanted to go into sales? Like, how'd you get into sales? You know, I'm curious, like, what did you look at?
Funny story. Yeah. So I was battling some injuries in the last couple of years in my career. So I knew that it was potentially coming to an end. Like I said, I was drafted when I was 20. So I went back to college every single off season, because the way Cal Poly worked out, it was perfect for me to do 1 quarter of school and then go play professional baseball. So I ended up being like 26 years old in a class of general ed English, you know, at college or whatever at one point. And so then my last off season.
Was that hard for you to do, by the way? Like, when you were there doing that, was it hard, or was it just like whatever it takes? Like, what was your mindset going through that experience?
It was tough. Surprisingly, the toughest part was to get back enrolled in the school, because if you miss 3 quarters of school, they kick you out. And then you have to go through this extensive admissions process again. And so I made best friends with the department head in my the kinesiology department that I was in at the time, saying, look, I'm coming back every single year. So can we just speed this process up, or what do we need to do? I had to lean on my coach and have him pull some strings. I mean, it was painful, but it was great. And I knew that if I didn't do it in those off seasons, and I had an opportunity, you know, in the baseball off season where you're not doing anything for 5 months, I had that opportunity. I really wanted to take advantage of it. So I didn't end up working.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. And, during the off season, were you training a lot still, or no?
Yep. So I would go, depending on my schedule, I would train. I think I would train in the afternoon. So I would go to school in the morning. I would set up my schedule to do school all morning, and then I would train all afternoon for the whole off season.
So you're a guy that's just every day training, getting better, improving, and executing.
That's right. That's what I try to do. I'm thinking about the long term, and everything is a build, right? Everything, every day is just building to that long term, and just acquiring new skills and getting better and developing mastery and just going. So that's the mindset that I like to take.